StreamYard. Can you hear me okay? Thumbs up. Awesome. I wanted to just do a quick audio video check for everyone. Maybe starting with Kamau. Can I add you to the stream and just do an audio video check? Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Hello. Okay. Video.
Hi.
Gold. How's it going?
Wednesdays. Here we are.
Totally. What a day. Audio sounds good too. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna take you off. Thank you. Yes. Cindy, can you hear me now?
Have you been saying anything? Oh, there you go.
Yes. I stepped away for a minute, just with some additional instructions, but I can hear you. And you can hear me?
Yep.
All right, your audio video looks good too. I'm just gonna take you off the stream. And then next I see our ASL interpreter is here. Welcome. I think our tech in the chat there's a Zoom link. So you can watch in StreamYard, but you won't be visible in StreamYard. It will all be through Zoom. So if you can turn off your video in StreamYard, and you don't have to worry about it here. But if you can head over to that Zoom link, that's where you'll be. And if in a few minutes I'll be completely silent, but you can still communicate with me through the private chat over here. And so that's how I'll be also giving you your call to standby or to when you're live. So we'll give a 30-second standby and just your name. And if you wouldn't mind just confirming in the chat, just writing confirm if you see that you're up next for standby. And just to continue audio video check, Ashley, if you're there, could we just pull you up on the stream and check your video and audio? Awesome. Okay. Video looks good. Good evening. How's it going?
Hey there, can you hear me?
Perfect. Yep. Audio sounds good. Thank you. All
Great,
right.
thanks.
And Nalini, could I do a quick video audio check for you? Awesome. Okay. Video looks great. How's it going?
What a day.
Totally. Audio sounds good. Thank you. All right. Reverend Seiko, could I do a quick audio video check and put you up on our stream? to check audio.
Hello?
There we go. Great, audio sounds good. How are you doing tonight?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Awesome. We lost you on video.
Let me see.
I don't know. There we go.
So, how are you?
Doing well, how about you?
All right, now, who am I speaking with?
That's a great question. I can introduce myself. I'm Lauren, I'll be your tech for We'll be transitioning to using the chat to the right for communicating during the show. So just to flag, I won't be disembodied voice in a few minutes anymore. I'll just be communicating through the chat. So when it's your time to go live, a little bit before, you'll see something like, I'll say like in the chat, stand by, 30 seconds. And then if you could just chat
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Frontline Mass Call. We appreciate that everyone is here. My name is Nalini Stamp. I serve as the proud Director of Strategy and Partnerships of the Working Families Party. I've been working with the Frontline, Election Defenders, and Joy to the Polls. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And I know it's both been a day of tremendous amount of joy due to the mass amount of people who went out to vote in Georgia, and also sadness. We have shifted tonight's agenda a little bit to address what we saw today. What we watched today was a disgrace. After months of trying to undermine the election, we watched as white supremacists and a violent mob stormed the Capitol building, and one person was shot and killed. Democracy is not a guarantee. It is a choice we make, and times like these call on us to defend it. We will be talking much more about this today, but we also mustn't forget that organizing got us here. So we will be talking about our responses, and also we're going to continue to talk about the organizing that we are going to continue to do. Because as the song says, ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We will first hear and have a grounding from Reverend Sekou. And then we're going to hear from some leaders of the front line, Ashley Henderson, Grace Martinez, Cindy Weisner, and much more. And you're going to hear from what's been going on for the past couple of days, but particularly our response in this moment. And then, as I said, we're going to continue to organize. We're going to hear from people on the front line of the fight to stop evictions and save lives right now in this moment, in this pandemic, in this movement. So I'm really, really excited. And I know it's with a lot of people have a lot of feels today. I just want to make sure that everybody feels seen, feels heard out there. So thank you for joining us. When you also fight for justice and for liberation, there will always be some haters. The more visible our work is, the more they will come after us. It is disturbing, but we will not be surprised if there are trolls at this event. If you see any hateful messages on the chats, please flood the chats with solidarity and other positive messages. Let's use our joy as an act of resistance. And this is a space to hear updates, analysis, and engage in political education and get involved in meaningful action. We're glad you're here with us tonight. Spanish interpretation is provided on this call. If you wish to hear the Spanish interpretation, please select the globe icon on your computer or the more or 3 dots icon on your tablet or smartphone. Select language interpretation and choose Spanish in the pop-up. Buenas noches y bienvenida al encuentro virtual de la primera línea, un espacio para escuchar información, participar en la educación política en acciones. Hay interpretación en español. Si desea escuchar la interpretación al español, por favor, de seleccionar el icónico del mapa mundi en la computadora o el icónico More o los 3 puntos en una tableta o teléfono inteligente. Seleccione interpretación de idiomas y después español del menú que aparece. So, we have next up to ground us, someone I've admired so much and haven't seen in a really long time, Reverend Sekou, is a minister of Valley and Mountain Church. He leads trainings on nonviolent civil disobedience and literally stood down white supremacists in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017. Please welcome Reverend Sekou.
Good evening. It is such a pleasure to be here with you all. Even though I can't see you, I know I have been to jail with a few of you and stood in front of Nazis and stared down police in Ferguson and around the country. There's an old plant that I have in my apartment that I call Miss Roberta. Miss Roberta was an old woman uh, that helped rear me in Zen, Arkansas, this little place I'm from with about 11 houses and 35 people. And Miss Roberta had a snuff bucket that she used to spit in, and she walked with a cane because her knees were sore from scrubbing white folks' floors all of her life, and her hands had calluses, and her body bore scars that we could not see because she had been through wars that we don't have to go through. And Miss Roberta, though she couldn't read and write, but she taught me to be an intellectual. She would make me read to her. She'd bring her papers and she'd say, "Boy, read to me." And so I would tell her if they were trying to steal her land, or what the news of the day was saying about her circumstances. And then sometimes she'd tell me to go get a book and she'd say, "Boy, read to me about our people." And I would oblige because she said so with both command and royalty in her voice. And Miss Roberta was married to a man named Mr. Andrew. And Mr. Andrew said everything twice. He said everything twice. And he was what people called a simple man. But Mr. Andrew's simpleness came from the fact that he had been struck because he went to register to vote in our little hamlet when it was violent to do so. And so one day I was talking to Miss Roberta, and Miss Roberta said to me, I said, uh, we were out in the yard somewhere, and Miss Roberta said to me, she says, "Boy, I'm thirsty." And I said, "Well, ain't no water fountain around here, Miss Roberta." And she says, "But there is a well. And if you go get that bucket, boy, you might be able to get some water out of that well." And so I want to remind us in this dark hour that there is a well, that what we have seen part and parcel in Georgia and what we've seen throughout the country of organizers rising up. In fact, we could draw a straight line from Ferguson to Charlottesville to what we see happening in the Capitol. But all of those folks who dared to stand in opposition to them, they were drawing upon a well. And I believe that well is a sacred one, not necessarily connected to a holy other. In fact, I am a third generation preacher from the Church of God in Christ, and I shall attempt to be uncharacteristically brief. But that is to say that there is a well, an ethical mode of being, a way of understanding to the world that is rich and it is ancient and it covers us in this hour. And that no matter how they do what they do in the White House, and we must be clear, even some of the people that we just elected, they shall betray us because that is the nature of politics. But nevertheless, we still draw upon that rich well that comes from illiterate women who couldn't read and write, but nevertheless, they dared to exist and they dared to be. And so part of that well is understanding that we come from a mighty people, that they have seen and understood and endured in ways that seem almost fanciful for us in this particular moment. That women like Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker, and like my beloved grandmother who had a third grade education but was the most sophisticated theologian that I ever met. And part of the wisdom that these people build on, that these people have, and what they bequeath to us, that not only that is oftentimes cased in kind of a religious language of an often repressive religion, but they were able to pull something out of it. And so they would say these interesting things like Jesus is a bright and morning star, meaning ethically that there was darkness, but they never let the darkness have the last word. And so, what are the way that part of the people who produced the greatest musical tradition in the history of the Western world, that their music would always lament, but they never let the lament have the last word? That is what the blues is about, particularly for those of us who have been blessed to be born in the bosom of the South. We know about the blues, but not letting the blues having the last word. We know that they were able to see in a way that allows us to fully understand and fully comprehend that Even though the material conditions say that we should lay down and die, we listen to those material conditions, we look at those material conditions and we call them a lie. We say they are not real. And though they may march with their weapons and attack the capital of a bourgeois democracy that has always betrayed us, and yet and still we always save it for ourselves because we believe in the redemptive capacity of our own structures to be able to say that America can be something that is never to be. My grandmother would say it like this. She'd say, eyes have not seen and ears have not heard what we are calling into existence. And we must be mindful, too, that we are doing what Reinhold Niebuhr said when he said that we're finding proximate solutions to insoluble problems. That whatever we do, whatever we structure, it will be proximate. It will not be enough. And so then we are on the way to something that we do not know, but we do so in joy. That we cannot allow the worst of this place steal our joy. That the old folks who raised me, they would say, like Miss Roberta, they would say, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me and the world can't take it away. And that in this work that we do, let us find joy. Let us find ways not to take ourselves too seriously, to laugh. And not only must we extend joy, let us extend grace to one another. We will make mistakes. We will mess up. But because we love each other deeply, that we do this work out of a deep abiding love, we will be able to say to one another in the midst of joy and out of grace that we can call each other account, but we won't throw anyone away, because empires throw people away, and we dare not be the very thing that we say we are struggling against. And so then, my prayer for us at this moment is that we, in all of our sophistication, have enough sense as Miss Roberta to do the best that we can in these circumstances and struggle to change them, and be reminded that we got to love our way with each other in struggle against an enemy, and that we might extend each other grace, and we might know what Miss Roberta knows, that this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me, and the world can't take it away. Amen and Ashe.
Ashe, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Reverend Seiko. Ashe to that. Yeah, this joy, they ain't gonna take it away. Next up, we have one of the fiercest and most talented organizers I know. Ashley Woodard Henderson is the first Black woman to serve as co-executive director of the Highlander Research Center and Education Center, and a member of multiple leadership teams at the Movement for Black Lives, and has been holding it down for us on the front line, and brings that beautiful Southern love with all the people in our hearts. So please, please, please welcome Ashley Woodard Henderson.
Thanks so much, Nalini. Love to all of you on this call, and particularly to the comrade Reverend Sekou, who already spoke such a fantastic and timely word. As Nalini mentioned earlier, you all can imagine that our team Frontline had imagined a very different call before today. And Nalini talked a little bit about some of the incredible folks that you're going to hear from a little later in the call. While some of the portions of this call, our time together, are still going to be focused on those things, we're also going to take some time to talk about the events of today and trying to make sense of this moment. What we know for sure is that we are organizers, y'all, and we are about ensuring that we move our collective agenda forward. That is the work of the Frontline. It is why we said we would not dissolve after the election, because we knew, in fact, there would still be work to do. to ensure that our people not only get the elected officials we deserve, but make sure that those elected officials then go out and pass the progressive policies that our communities have been demanding. What we know for certain is that in this moment, claiming our victories is still important. Organizing is a practice that requires consistency, even in the midst of this orchestrated chaos. And to do any of our work well and in right relationship, we have to be present together. We have to move from our grounded certainty, and we have to move together with intention. So we wanted to, as we've done before, take a moment to just acknowledge all that we're holding in this moment, to recognize that in this space, there is room for all of our feelings. There is importance in taking the time to feel them. So for those of you that are coming to this call anxious, scared, terrified, pissed off at what you saw today, we see you. For those of you that are still riding the highs of what it means that we built a people's movement powerful enough to get Trump out of office and is committed to continuing to do that until we see it through fruition, we see you. For our comrades in Georgia and all of us around the country and around the world on this call that are celebrating the power of a Black-led, multiracial, working-class-led coalition that just flipped the Senate, y'all, in the South, as goes the South. We see you. There is space for all of the feelings of uncertainty, all the gratitude for the work that's been done and will continue to happen. There is space for you on this call. Feeling any or all of these things is completely natural. Feeling them at the same time is not unheard of. So as we move into the struggle that we said would follow the election period, let's think about how we rise to the occasion together. Let's affirm what is absolutely in our control. We made this happen, each and every one of us. Not because we were electing a savior, but because we were electing our next target. We won because we worked together. We came together across our differences to ensure that this moment would be possible, that we would have the power to overcome the chaos and violence of white supremacist, patriarchal, right-wing violence. We are building a united front, the Frontline. We made this possible. We came together because our people believe in democratic and participatory governance for us and by us. Today, we are one small step closer to it, and for continuing to be committed to our collective liberation, we are closer and closer by the day. We are committed to being in this work together moving forward. Although our work isn't yet finished, we celebrate what we have made happen. We are not alone in this work. We have each other. Our strength is the power of our people in this united front. So as we prepare to get into the content of this call, I call you to join me in a moment of brief meditation. I want you to close your eyes if you can. Get as comfortable as you can. Not for the performance of meditation, but for the sake of being open enough to receive the incredible calls to action and information that we're going to get on this call. I want you to imagine that your stomach is a balloon. As you inhale deeply, you want to gently fill the balloon up in your stomach. And as you exhale slowly, you want to deflate the balloon in your stomach. Let's try this 3 times. 1, I want you to inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4, and hold it. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4. Again, inhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4. One more time. Inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4. As we mentioned before, on 11/4, one of our first weekly Wednesday calls, we have nearly defeated Trump. Let those words settle in for a second. Feel how that feels in your body. Feel what you're feeling in your shoulders, in your heart space. Feel your gut. Feel the feeling under your feet. What has changed since our last time together? And what hasn't changed? Trump may be well on his way out of office, but not for a little bit longer. And afterwards, even if we make it to an inauguration day that makes sense based on what the voice of the people has said, Trumpism will clearly still exist. Do you carry that in your body? Do you carry grief for the people who have suffered under Trump and Trumpism for the last 4 years? How does that feel in your shoulders, your heart space, your gut, under your feet? Let's hold both of these truths, all of these feelings. It is not unreasonable to feel both optimism and deep grief and righteous rage in this moment. It shows that we are humans leading a people-centered movement. And as we end this meditation, let's remember to hold on to the reality of the power of our commitment to collective liberation. We are not alone in this work. Together, victory is our inheritance and it's our destiny. Thank you all so much. Nalini, I'll toss it back to you.
Thank you so much, so much. And thank you for your grace and your leadership for everything. You know, they said that no one would turn out for a runoff. They said voter suppression would keep them home. They said that they would intimidate us with their fear and their violence. They said that we couldn't actually come out within 2 months later after a general election. And you know what the South said? The South said nah. The South came out in record numbers. Georgia came out record numbers and made sure that their voices were heard. We had hundreds of election defenders all over the state giving out water and PPE. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Casey, for leading us in that effort, and all of the folks who participated in our team at the election defenders. We had Joy to the polls with Rick Ross, Neo, Mulatto, DJ Wally Sparks, and the work crew in Georgia. And that is the reason why we saw what we saw today. Because we have been organizing for years. What happened in Georgia wasn't just an overnight thing. That was years of elders teaching the next generation how to organize. It was years of movement work, from the uprisings in 2014 to the uprisings of 2020, that people were motivated to get out and vote. And they did, and their voices were heard. And it is historic that Georgia has elected their first, and the South elects in the first in 150 years, Black man, Reverend from the South, and Georgia for the first time elected a Jewish person to represent them in the United States Senate. So what we saw yesterday was historic. And the voters decided on November 3rd, and they decided yesterday and during early vote. So to all the organizations that put in the work, to New Georgia Project, Fair Fight, to Mi Gente Presente, to Georgia Con Ganas, to all of the organizations, the Asian American Advocacy Fund, for all of the organizations who put in so much work. Thank you. Thank you for showing the rest of the country how it's done. And thank you for showing so goes the South, so goes the nation. We also know right in this moment that Congress is reconvening. The joint session is reconvening as we speak to talk about the certification, and we will be updating people as it comes along on the phone call. One of the things that we are doing at the Working Families Party is, and we'll be talking about it in a little bit as I bring up my comrades, we are calling on members of Congress to support Representative Ilhan's impending articles of impeachment against President Trump immediately. And also, calling on Cori Bush to expel members of Congress who are opposing certification of lawful election results. We must impeach, expel, and investigate what happened today. So text Trump out to 30403 to get involved. Again, Trump out to 30403, hashtag throw him out. Now we're gonna have a conversation with some amazing compas and movement people that I love and other leaders of this movement. We have Cindy Wisner, who is the executive director of the Grassroots Global Justice Alliance and on the leadership team of the Rising Majority and one of the baddest strategists and tacticians I know. We have Grayson Martinez Rosas, DACA recipient and executive director, newly executive director of United We Dream. And all of us, and of course, Ashley's coming back as well, and all of us are part of this leadership team. So we're gonna get into talking about, both what is the Frontline, what are we doing in this moment? And so we're gonna start with Grayson to just lead us through who we are and why we're here.
Oh, thank you, Nalini. Good evening, everyone. It's so good to be and share in this space of time and moment together. My name is Grayson Martinez Rosas. I'm undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed. And as Nalini mentioned, I serve as the executive director of United We Dream. We are the nation's largest immigrant youth-led network. It is our honor to be part of the Frontline. And why we joined the Frontline? We know that each generation is faced with the formidable challenges to define them. Our generation is faced with the growing threat of white supremacy and the violence that continues to harm Black people, undocumented folks, Indigenous people all across the country, and that has been embodied by Trump's presidency. We are here because we know that our liberation is bound to one another. And sisters and brothers, I stand with you all tonight, and I know Ash and Cindy, we had some time, the four of us, to process this moment together earlier, where we know we all saw what was happening here in Washington, D.C. I'm a block away from the Capitol. And to be honest and to be real, as we always are, I was scared. I remember feeling shaking in my body because I was concerned about like my safety, but also because my body remembers what it feels like to have armed agents coming after your family. It's part of the immigrant experience. Some of us fled civil wars all across the country and came to this country thinking that this would be the safe place to come. And as we find ourselves into this moment, it was underlined for us why at United We Dream, the undocumented immigrant youth joined the Frontline, because we know that it's not just about the moral thing to do to follow the leadership of Black women. It's not like the hashtag thing because we won in Georgia, that's the thing that you tweet, but it's actually the reality of what has like won time and time again. It is the fuel that has ensured that like we're able to deliver the victories for people and the people that we love, and that we know that when Black women are free, then all of us are free. So today is the day that we need to believe in the power of our solidarity and the possibility that we can build a stronger, more powerful movement together. And Cindy, today was the day that I knew why you were brought into my life as a teacher that teaches me, like, how do we make sense of this moment? I saw on TV, like things like the coup and like just a takeover. And I thought to myself, thank God I have Cindy in my life because she can help break this down for me. So Cindy, how did you experience this moment? And like, how can we guide ourselves as we're experiencing what we're seeing on TV today?
Well, first of all, saludos, good evening to all of you, compañeras, compañerex, everyone watching us tonight. And what a day, right? What a day. And many of us have understood or read about coups in other countries, right? And we've seen them be extremely violent and massive level of murder conducted on behalf of, sort of the aim to undermine democracy. We've seen coups happen in more recent decades through using the electoral processes and legislative mechanisms. And part of a coup, and we've heard that word a lot, is really has been when the military or dictators or factions of peoples that are calling and taking action for the removal of the existing government, right? From power through violent means, and in that sort of seizure of power through unconstitutional means. And part of that is that we've also heard the word sedition, right? And part of the word is really is the act of inciting a riot or violence against the lawful authority with the goal of destroying it or overthrowing it. And part of this is that, we heard President Trump, 45, today, inciting people to storm the Capitol, right? And he was encouraging people to disrupt the process, the electoral college certification. And part of that is that we need to make sure to call that out, right? To call it out very clearly, like some of our newly elected and squad members and folks that are calling out very clearly about the dangers of this moment and the dangers of not being complicit, like the cops were today, how many of us witnessed in what is happening, right? And part of that is that we also have to understand that Trump is not ceding power, and that these next 13 days, we are going to have to be absolutely vigilant about this. This was just the first move, right? And we've seen from the trying to impact sort of the outcome in Georgia and bullying, sort of mob style, the folks in Georgia to change the outcome of the election. He's not going to go away, and his attempts are not going to go away. And so we have to be able to understand that he is creating the conditions for a right-wing populist movement that is mostly white. It's not entirely, there's a lot of people of color in it. It's mostly men and cisgendered men, so it's very patriarchal, and it's violent. And we have to be able to understand it as a force, right? And we can't just say it's like some fringe group, right? We actually have to understand it in the broader context than their united front, right? In their united front to maintain power. And so part of this question, this moment, it's like, well, why are we as leftists needing to defend democracy? And I think it's very clear that the role of any conscious radical organizer, or just in other terms, role of a conscious revolutionary in this moment, is we need to ensure that Trump leaves office. We need to push back against martial law. We need to be as vigilant as he continues to build and consolidate his base. And we're very clear, like, we live in a bourgeois democracy, and we're also very clear about the neoliberal agenda that's coming before us. But we have to be able to continue to articulate through this and practice radical democracy. And we need to stop this coup attempt, and we need to confront the fascists in our families, in our communities, in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods, in our work, and organize ourselves, right? And I think that's one of the things that's so important, that we have to be able to think about the long view in this moment, that we got to continue destabilizing and delegitimizing the system and build the regenerative, feminist, anti-racist economy, right, that we want. But in the meantime, in this moment, we have to cohere our forces, including middle forces, including breaking some of the Republican Party members, right? And when Trump said stand back and stand by, we saw he put them into motion today. Our response has to be stand, sit, and stay together, right? And we have to mobilize. And that is the importance of this moment, is that we can't be complacent or fall asleep or be like, whoo, it's like Nalini was in Georgia yesterday. She didn't even have time to sleep today to then now be on this. And I just think it's a moment where we have to be able to come together more than ever. And so for me, I want to, ask Ash, right? It's like, Ash, so like we've been predicting this. You talked about this. Why is it, tell us, like, how did we all predict this moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think in no small part due to some of your teaching, Cindy, as Grace said earlier, but it's just some like short-winded stuff to remind our folks of, right? Some of you might remember that after the enslavement of African people, that there was a upsurge in Black power building, right? Like Black people were getting elected, making progressive policy shifts, and then the Compromise of 1877 happened, right? And the long story short, they didn't even have the sense to write it down, but it was a white boy bargain to crush the Black Power movement, the Black-led, multiracial, working-class tenor movement for collective liberation and democracy in this country. So guess what followed that compromise? Jim Crow, right? And then guess what you saw? You saw, again, people's movement, right? You saw the American Indian movement. You saw like API movement. You saw folks building power and doing it together, the Young Lords, right? Like tons of incredible organizing was happening all over the country. I'm obviously particularly aware of the incredible radical tradition of the Southern freedom movement in the South. And then guess what happened? We won some stuff, right? The Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, right? Progressive policies followed the base building, grassroots organizing, direct action that people had been really committing their lives to on the ground, right? And then Reaganomics, right? All of the things, right? There's always been a response to people's power building in this country. So in 2014, me and Nell were just laughing on social media, laughing and crying on social media about this today. It's like in 2014, when we were talking about some of the wins that the Black liberation movement of the 21st century was winning, right? And in 2016, me and Gracia and Sydney and Delidi were talking about some of the victories that our people on the ground were winning that blow back from the wins that we are making. And so how did we predict it? Well, because the white supremacist, patriarchal, violent right-wing folks are not particularly innovative. They just are violent. They have a long-term strategy and they replicate it over and over again and adapt to make it work, right? So what's important for us is to remember that we are also innovative and incredible organizers, that we have the wind in our sails because our people are winning. And they're winning not because we're playing a valueless, neutral, like mythical, neutral, list of demands. Right? Our people are doing what we always deserved, right? We're not asking just for what we would concede to. We're demanding the Breathe Act, right? We're talking about defunding the police. We're doing that. And guess what happened today? Let me make the absurdity obvious. The very law enforcement officers that folks are swearing protect and serve us couldn't even keep the senators safe, right? Let's make the absurdity obvious. If Black and brown and indigenous API folks had come out at the White House in the same way that these white supremacist, patriarchal, violent, right-wing people did, we would have been destroyed, right? If you're feeling confused and upset about the contradictions of the state in this moment, you're not losing it. That is what's happening. There's a contradiction in how the state is responding. That we have to be demanding that senators denounce white supremacy in this moment, call for the impeachment and the immediate dismissal of Donald Trump as an illegitimate figurehead, right? That we have to, in this, be talking about the absurdity of the Electoral College after the victories that we won today. It is absurd, comrades. It is absurd. So you are not losing it. And this is exactly why we predicted that this is going to happen. It's in fact why, y'all might remember, some of y'all are new to the call, but some of y'all have been with the Frontline for a minute now. Y'all might remember that even on November 4th, we said that this united front was going to be necessary to continue because we knew that our work would not be over on November 3rd. We said that explicitly. You all demanded that of us. So we are going to stay together. We are going to survive the ridiculousness and harm of today. We are going to fight together to ensure that our people continue to get what they deserve. And we are coming with everything that we've got, our joy, our strategy, our multiple tactical interventions, our inside and outside gang, the best of the best, the brightest of the bright, are coming together to ensure that we give it everything in the $100. This is not over. I think that we have an opportunity in this moment to continue to recommit in 2021 to this Black-led, multiracial, united front. And that's the work. That's the work of the Frontline. Now, I have a question for you. So we've talked about how we predicted the moment. We've talked about some of the realities of this moment. But I know you in particular in the Working Families Party has been doing some due diligence around some concrete things that people can do. And I know that the Frontline has some calls to action too. So I want to ask you, what are you seeing happening on the Hill, and what can regular people be watching out for so that we know how to?
Absolutely. Thanks, y'all. So one, what we're seeing right now, and it's happening live as we speak, is that Congress has reconvened. A lot of talk, but obviously we want to see action. We think that what was done today, because it was done by the President of the United States as he was speaking at the rally that turned into the violent white supremacist mob that stormed the Capitol. And so when I said the call to action earlier, I'm gonna read out what we have. It's we the undersigned members call on members of Congress to immediately support Representative Ilhan Omar's and Representative Ayanna Pressley's pending articles of impeachment against Trump. He must be removed. He must be removed. Supporting Representative Cori Bush's, an incoming representative, resolution to expel members of Congress who are opposing the certification of lawful election results because they are inciting violence in our communities, and demand a full investigation into the security response on January 6th. I've been to a lot of actions, and I know y'all all have too, at the Capitol. And let me tell you, I done yelled at Susan Collins during the Kavanaugh vote and got taken down by 3 officers in the rotunda, yelling at her while she's speaking. And I was taken out by 3 officers, and I had to go through hoops to get in. So there's no way. And when we see the video of police letting them in, when we know that the National Guard wasn't called because of Trump reshuffling the Department of Defense, these were, as Cindy was saying, these were the things that we saw coming. And so we're saying impeach, expel, and investigate. And we're so proud to have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Jamal Bowman, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar all by our side on this. And if you text Trump out to 30403, you are signing that petition. And so what we're going to do is we're going to keep a close eye. There is right now talks of invoking the 25th, which is different than just a little bit of education. And articles of impeachment is by Congress. And those articles would remove Trump. But there is also a way that the vice president, the Senate president, can invoke the 25th. And so basically, there is actual live talk right now of congressional leadership talking about invoking the 25th, which would remove Trump from his powers at the moment. And it's not the same as impeaching, it's just invoking the 25th. So we're going to be keeping a close eye. And as we are continuing this call, we're going to be making sure we're giving everybody updates. But yeah, this is really important that we're here. And obviously, there's going to be more to happen, right? When we swear in our next president, which will happen by the glory and grace of all of our ancestors, it will happen. And we know this is why, directly impacted people created the Frontline. So we have a 100-day plan, right? And so just Gracia, just wanted to just throw it back to you about what is our plan? What are we going to do with our wins and our victories?
We're going to impeach, expel, and investigate. And then we're going to ensure that we have a Thrive agenda, the Breathe agenda, that we have a Green New Deal that works for people, that undocumented people across the country have permanent protection, that we abolish ICE and CBP. We will ensure that people are able to stay in their homes and not be evicted, and that everyone everyone gets the living wage that they deserve, and while we survive this COVID, that is what we're gonna do. So no matter, it reminds me of a song, Nalini, that we sang together while we were shutting down detention centers in the border, when we said that we're not gonna let anybody turn us around, because we know that we have a plan. And just as Ash laid it out, we know that we are facing this choice to stand together, to say enough, to fight for a brighter future for everyone. And we're not just floating around. We're not like lost. We plan for this moment. We are visionary and skillful strategists. Everyone on this call, we know that we are prepared for this moment. And what we laid out very clearly for ourselves, even before the election, were that we're gonna guide ourselves by 5 sections of our People's Charter. We were going to do one, we were going to care for the wronged. We want to make sure that we repair the historic harms and end a systemic racism all across the country. Number 2, we're going to have emergency care. We want to help everyone and get and stay well. Support workers and families and small businesses, undocumented people for as long as it takes. Number 3, we want a good job for everyone who needs one. We want working people. Can't wait for years for jobs to come back. We need millions of jobs right here, right now. Number 4, we're going to care for one another. And this call right here, this moment, it is us living into that value. We're going to address the deficiencies in how our government cares for us and that this pandemic has revealed. And number 5 is we're going to care for the future. We're going to act now, so that we can make sure to make us more resilient to challenge what we know are the things that will keep us from our best and higher selves. Because, siblings, we have come too far. We will not turn around. We have flooded the streets with justice in Georgia yesterday. We have flooded the streets with justice this year with the largest social movement led by Black people in this country. Undocumented people have flooded into the streets to demand citizenship for all, a moratorium on deportations, the ICE and CBP to be abolished. We have been super clear that we demand a world where our people can breathe and drink clean water. We are not turning around. And so we ask you to join the Frontline if you have not done so already, to not allow for the white supremacists that tried to steal our joy today to succeed, and to ensure that we're coming together to be super clear. We have 100 days to ensure that we get the most robust response. The Biden administration has been clear that there is a calling from millions of Americans in this country that says that we will not stand for this world to continue in the same direction that it's been in. So trust the people that are around you, trust the movements that got us into this moment, and join the front line, because together we're gonna be able to win. We're gonna be able to ensure that our people are safe, and that we're gonna be able to make sure that we're partying and bringing joy to the polls, joy to the people, joy everywhere. So welcome to this call. Welcome to the Frontline. We are ready.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Gracias, Cindy. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Gresa, for all your wisdom, your love, and your joy. And we will do that. And so how are we going to do that? I'm going to say a couple calls of action before we get into talking about the evictions and the economy. One, we invite folks we understand that COVID is running rampant in our communities, but we also know folks need a release and need to express. So we invite folks to start tomorrow at 6 p.m. with hashtag 6for46, a countdown that election defenders have been doing for a long time. Go out and count down the days, 10, 9, 8, come up because like it's New Year's Eve every night, right? Until we're gonna count down the days to the Biden inauguration. And then starting on the 27th, we are going to be having Frontline Defenders trainings, series of trainings for folks. And the first series is going to be on how to do evictions and deportation defense. We're going to be working with our partners and making sure that because we need an eviction moratorium and a deportation moratorium, because it is a public health issue in this moment, and it is a right. Housing is a right, and home is here, as our compas say, and we are here to stay. We also have, from the 13th to the 16th, I believe, hopefully I'm saying these things right. We want to invite you all with hashtag forward together to join us in our actions leading up to the inauguration, because we know that we must continue. There are millions of people who've gone on unemployment in the last couple of weeks alone. We have hit over 300,000 COVID deaths. We know that our planet is suffering, and we know that we must do everything to get a Green New Deal and an economy with green jobs and getting millions of jobs. So join us for a mass organizing online event next week, organizing meeting on the 16th. Hashtag forward together. So thank you so much to the folks who joined us on the front line. So as we are the initial reason we were going to have this call, and of course we took the time to change the agenda, is the evictions and the economy was original. And I'm just going to frame a little bit that why this is important. When I was younger, I remember I received an eviction notice on my door, and it was one of the most painful moments that I've ever experienced. And no one should ever be without a home in this country. We are one of the richest countries in the world. Housing should not be commodified. Housing is a fundamental human right. And we should make sure that people are housed. From everything to canceling rent to a homes guarantee in the future, we need to make sure that people can stay in their homes, and especially in this moment, because it actually will save lives. And the plan is still a plan. So I am really, really excited to invite and introduce Kamal Walton. They are Right to the City's senior organizer for communications. And we're going to be talking about Right to the City's Day of Action, which is next Wednesday. Kamal, you ready? You here? It's all right. We need a home of our own. Yeah, there we go. I always feel that.
Thank you, Nalini. I'm here. I'm ready. My people. Whew. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having Right to the City on this call. We're excited to connect with folks on what has been a very pitched and elevated day. With all that has been happening in DC and across the country, it is important that we don't forget our folks who know what it's like to have weaponized, emboldened people show up at our doors, whether they be ICE agents, county sheriffs, or other arms of law enforcement and state violence. We know what it's like to have our humanity, our families, and our communities undermined by those who think they have power to define who we are and what we deserve. This is why we're joining forces and taking action a week from today on Wednesday, January 13th, to stop evictions, to call to stop deportations, and to save lives. People on the front lines are being asked to make sacrifices daily to help dampen the impacts of this crisis. But how are corporate landlords, real estate profiteers, law enforcement, elected officials that we put in office stepping up to shoulder this burden when over 30 million households are going to be facing eviction at the end of this month? So President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris have said that once in office, they will undo every policy that Trump has put in place and help the country heal from the era of Trumpism over these past 4 years. That doesn't mean that we are done ensuring that this administration delivers on their promises to us. We cannot afford to let the administration fool us into thinking that meeting in the middle is the only way to get anything done, because we know our people are on the margins. They are teetering on the edge, if not already engulfed by economic, housing, and health crises, folded over and over and over. So now is the time to take bold action to get our people back on solid ground and stabilize our communities. So on day one of their administration, they can begin to do just that. They can make the first payment down on our communities who are living in some of the most challenging and painful times of our generation by utilizing their strong executive power to place strengthened and truly enforceable federal eviction moratoriums issued by the Center for Disease Control, a blanket moratorium that leaves nobody behind. Enact a nationwide moratorium on utility shutoffs, to cancel rent, mortgage, and utility debt that's being stacked on the backs of our people every single month, and to place a complete moratorium on deportations until a full and thorough investigation of DHS is completed. It is time that we recognize how truly intertwined and linked the most pressing issues of this moment are to all of our lives. There is no working economy for all of us when many of those same workers that contribute to our economy are brutally killed in our streets by police forces, when thousands who are deemed essential workers are continuing to be criminalized, arrested, detained, and facing deportation, when people are working multiple jobs and still can't afford to pay their rent and childcare and healthcare. Millions of renters already are dealing with the weight of the housing crisis even before COVID hit. Our neighborhoods have gone from places where we love and heal and grow and learn and play and rest and dream to a way for corporations and banks to turn a profit. Evictions and deportations are not a solution, nor should they ever be an option. It is up to us to keep each other safe. It is up to us to protect our communities, and it is time for us to take action. So on Wednesday, January 13th, from Tampa to Portland, from Lexington to Los Angeles, renters in 15 cities across the country will be taking action, demanding that we stop evictions, stop deportations, and save lives. We are inviting folks to join us as we take action in the streets and online, because we know people need to keep themselves and each other safe, to make the demand to stop evictions, stop deportations, to keep our people home, and to keep each other healthy. So we're inviting everyone to text HOMES to 33339 for updates on the day of action, to find out how you can uplift the actions taking place next week, and to continue to get involved in the fight. Thank you everyone for having me, and I'm excited to be throwing down with you in the streets and online 1 week from today.
Thank you so much, Kamal. We're really, really excited about joining the day of action as well. What a day. Thank you to the over 3,000 people who are with us, and everyone who's watching. We are so excited to have you as a part of the broader Frontline community. It is going to take a united front to defeat not just what we saw today, but also to actually build the world we want to see. A world where we finally honor the indigenous original stewards of the land. A world where we honor undocumented people and make this country safe for everyone. A world where we honor our Black trans family. A world where we honor people, where people actually have jobs, a roof over their head, and care. That world is possible. Another world is truly, truly possible. And so what you can do right now is you can bang pots and pans every night for democracy. 6 for 46, hashtag 6 for 46 at 6 o'clock. I want to see you on those videos. We want you to sign up for the Frontline Defender trainings, which we had on the link as well. We want you to join Right to the City's National Day of Action on January 13th. We wanted you to join the Frontline's Forward Together virtual event on January 16th. We want you to join the Frontline. And also, if you want to also get involved in the Frontline Eviction Defenders trainings, you can text HOMES with the S to 40649. HOMES to 40649 to get involved with our eviction and deportation defenders trainings that will begin at the end of the month. We are the future that we believe in. We are the hope. We are the new day. And I always close us off with a little bit of a song. So I'm going to do that here. I really wanted to start to close us off with Les Miserables, Do You Hear the People Sing? But I will save that for all the theater nerds afterwards. But because Reverend Sekou said these words earlier, which is from the Resistance Revival Chorus, I'm going to just sing a little bit of song. All right. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Thank you. Join the front line. Let's continue to organize. Let's continue to have hope because we will win. Mwah.